My Passion, 2018. A biopic on V. Alexander Stefan, an American polymath. Vladislav Alexander Stefan, My Passion, 2018. My Passion. A documentary on V. Alexander Stefan. Physics, Art, Society. This biopic is based on the books and other various works in physics research, arts, and higher education by Vladislav Alexander, Sasha, Stefan. Books for general public. The Falstaff Trilogy. The books of V. Alexander Stefan on Albert Einstein. Technical books for specialists and general public by V. Alexander Stefan. V. Alexander Stefan, editor, author. V. Alexander Stefan, founder, editor-in-chief of the book series. V. Alexander Stefan, translator from Serbian into English. Books about V. Alexander Stefan. This is La Jolla Cove in La Jolla, California, USA. One of Stefan's favorite walking places. Stefan will be walking here and telling you the story about his passion. Physics, arts, and the Stefan University. He will tell you also about some remarkable individuals worldwide he has had the honor to encounter. And he will tell you about some places worldwide he has visited, which got close to his heart. Passion, says Stefan, needs obstacles to augment her strength. As the story is about Stefan's works in various walks of life, you may think of him as the man of grandeur. On the contrary, Stefan is quite a modest man, who never makes small plans, always inaugurate great projects, and is convinced that the best life is lived in humility, hope, and patience. The content of this movie is given so as to provide the viewer with an easy access to particular sections of the movie that a viewer may find a special interest in.
Have you ever wanted to know how to say My La Jolla in Serb language, Serbian Serb, Montenegrin Serb, Bosnian Serb, American Serb, Australian Serb language, etc.? Well, here it is in Serb language. Moja La Jolla. Moja La Jolla. In Russian language you would say Moja La Jolla. Moja La Jolla. In what follows, I'll be doing some walking at La Jolla Cove and talking to you about my passion in a few words or more. And I play on my guitar and sing for you. Let me introduce myself. I am Vladislav Alexander Stefan, a theoretical physicist by training, who, in addition to physics, likes to do many other things with the same passion. I am 70 years old, and I love it. Guided by the voices from beyond, with a burning candle in my hand, I go forward to the place. I intuit it's not the end. Creativity, the queen of passion, for the reason of her own, is pushing me forward toward the goal, which to me is unknown. Creativity, my bride, keeps my heart on fire, with the bliss and pain, side by side, cursing me by our marriage, never to be satisfied. My passion alone is my driving force. We never part. All my activities are within her heart. She's all I have in my life's creative endeavor. She's my mistress, my joy and sorrow, my life's flavor. My passion is fierce and true, very much so. Why? Ask me not, I do not know. Johnny Cash, not only you, man, I've been everywhere too. When I look at this list and the places I've been to, thanks to my being a theoretical physicist, and places I have visited privately, I can say that I am a true walker. Johnny Walker's Scotch whiskey comes to mind. Or I can say that I am a traveling man. Ricky Nelson's song, I am a traveling man, comes to mind. I'm a traveling man. Or I can say that I am a time traveler, if you will. Dr. Faustev comes to mind. Johnny Cash used to sing, I've been everywhere, man. I would say, Johnny, you've been everywhere, man. But not only you, I've been everywhere too. I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Johnny Cash, not only you, man. I've been everywhere too. Yes, I've been to Alaska, north to Alaska, where the gold rush was on. North to Alaska, where the gold rush is on. I make no small plans. The man is what he chooses to be. A man achieves the heights by standing upon the shoulders of men. Sir Isaac Newton says, if I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. I have been always driven to inaugurate great plans, which will benefit my fellow men. This is balanced by my love for simpler and smaller things in life, such as walking, alone or in the company of good friends, for example. This is a spot in La Jolla, San Diego, where I walk, think, and talk to myself. The midnight hour is the best time to be here. I have two more walking spots, one in Las Vegas and the other one on Beverly Hills, Los Angeles. This one in La Jolla is probably my favorite one. I'll tell you a few words or more about my passion right from this place in broad daylight. I speak several European languages and read Latin and Greek. Every particular language that you speak or read brings you a new particular mindset. It is the time travel, so to speak, on the time strings of different cultures, traditions and civilizations. Your intellect, emotion and intuition are enormously enriched. Quite often, when you speak a particular language, you cannot retrieve a proper word from the memory storage, but it pops out from another language storage. You have an accent in speaking any of those languages. You have an accent even when you speak your native language.
My passion. 137. The Crossroad of Classical, Relativity, and Quantum Physics. Number. The measure of all that there is. Mathematical physics. Mathematical medicine. The nature of time.
The Falstaff Trilogy. Physics and Technology of the Living Matter. Neurophysics, stem cell physics, genomic physics, and similar disciplines. Here is what the Alexander Stefan, the author, says about neurophysics, stem cell physics, genomic physics, and public health.
Genomics and genomic medical physics have advanced rapidly over the last decade. The research field is shifting from testing rare genetic disorders to the diagnosis of diseases, heart disease, diabetes, stroke, osteoporosis, cancer, and others. The medical physics is now in a position to prevent a disease from occurring, in other words, to treat the cause rather than the symptoms, as it has been mostly the case up to the present days. A significant role, it seems to me, is played by the involvement of theoretical physics in medical research. It is the revolutionary onset for medical science, the paradigm shift in medicine and public health. The development of genomic medical physics is empowered by the information acquired from the United States Human Genome Project. It is possible to design the treatments and drugs to each individual patient. The risk of getting a disease, or even infections, is almost always in part due to the combination of genes a human was born with. By using the genetic information, medical doctors predict with different degrees of certainty what diseases their patients are at risk of developing. Consequently, medical doctors use this information to reduce the chance of the disease from occurring or to prevent it completely. The explorations into the nature of human genome, one of the major scientific challenges of the 21st century, sheds light on how faulty genes play a role in the cause of a disease. Commercial efforts are shifting away from diagnostics and toward developing a new generation of therapeutics based on genes. The drug designs, pharmacogenomics, are being revolutionized. Researchers worldwide are now creating new classes of drugs based on the information on gene sequence and protein structure function, rather than the traditional trial and error method. Drugs that are laser-guided to specific sites in the body and the brain promise to have fewer side effects than many of the drugs used currently. The ultra-short laser-guided drug delivery techniques have a high potential in targeting drugs to specific molecular areas in the brain.
The American Society for Genomic Medicine, Stefan University. The American Society for Laser Neuroscience, Stefan University. Toward a healthier human race. The Alexander Stefan. Works in physics and technology. The Alexander Stefan has been doing research in the following areas of thermonuclear physics and technology. Inertial confinement, thermonuclear fusion, laser fusion, heavy ion beam fusion, Magnetic confinement thermonuclear fusion. Tokamak fusion. Elmo-Bumpy torus fusion. Magnetic mirror fusion. In addition to thermonuclear physics research, Stefan has been doing research in the following areas: space plasma, astrophysical plasma, nonlinear acoustics, nonlinear optics, free electron lasers, Stefan has published over 200 research papers in the above research areas. The SFC, the Stefan Frontier Conference's ultimate goal is the publishing of submitted edited materials within the various SFC book series so as they can be used by a broader scientific community at the present times and in the years to come as a quality research document. Regarding the publishing and making research results known to a larger audience, here is what Albert Einstein says.
The progress of science presupposes the possibility of unrestricted communication of all results and judgments, freedom of expression and instruction in all realms of intellectual endeavor. The freedom of communication is indispensable for development and extension of scientific knowledge. Such an ideal must be sought unremittingly, if scientific thought and philosophical and creative thinking in general are to be advanced as far as possible.
Make it sexy, says CARLO RUBBIA to Stefan. In 1990, says Stefan, when I was organizing conferences within Stefan Frontier Conferences, I talked from La Jolla, California, over the telephone to Dr. CARLO RUBBIA at CERN, Geneva, the European Organization for Nuclear Research, and asked him for advice as to the invited speakers.
He gave me a list of potential speakers and said to me, call them and talk to them, but make it sexy.
I've been using the RUBBIA line Make It Sexy ever since. In the spring 1990, says Stefan, I gave a talk on my invention entitled Beat Wave-Driven Free Electron Laser at the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, Berkeley, California. Andrew SESSLER was my host. He had been advisor for the Stefan Frontier Conferences, helping me with a number of conferences on radiation generation and particle acceleration.
factory centers so below, looking at the back of the desired region. Well, I mentioned part of the game is to reduce the initial asymmetries, which you can do by increasing the number of beams of the laser, improving the alignment accuracy, and so forth. But there's one maybe also one clever thing which people have come up with in the last few years, namely, if you introduce into the laser light on purpose various both spatial and temporal incoherence and jittering a bit, then you have irregularities, they spread over the surface in time and space, and that so you don't push the same radiator and stability at the same level. This kind of indicates how the
NJEGOSH and the Yugoslavs. The Pan-Slavism of the 19th century. NJEGOSH and the unity of the South Slavic people. In the 19th century, NJEGOSH had been promoting the unity of the South Slavic people in his epic poem entitled The Mountain Wreath.
The unity had been accomplished in the 20th century through one country named Yugoslavia, based on the Marxist social philosophy. Yugoslavia, the South Slavic land, is now dissected again into a number of smaller independent countries: Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, Macedonia, Kosovo, and Serbia. If I were younger, I would dedicate my whole life to see Yugoslavia as one country again, based on the principles of the United States of America and other countries.
The NJEGOSH Mausoleum, the symbol of human dignity. NJEGOSH, says Stefan, was a Montenegrin Serb, a champion of the Pan-Slavism movement in the 19th century Europe, and a liberating humanist. NJEGOSH, the Prince Bishop of Montenegro, a Montenegrin Orthodox Serb. NJEGOSH's wish to be buried on top of Lovćen Mountain attests his deep mystical intuition. It was not the act of his personal vanity. But, even if it was, he would be easily forgiven. It was the act of his deep comprehension of ethnical and human dignity in general. The NJEGOSH Mausoleum, Lovćen Mountain, Montenegro, Yugoslavia. The NJEGOSH Mausoleum, Lovćen Mountain, Montenegro, Yugoslavia. NJEGOSH knew that the liberating humanism of his mountain wreath against the Ottomanization of Montenegro, combined with the act of burying his body on top of Lovćen, would lift up the spirit of the Serbs, the Yugoslavs, to such heights, so as to be seen by the whole world. From top of Lovćen, NJEGOSH watches over his beloved Montenegro in his non-living years. He must be happy to see that, currently, peoples worldwide successfully preserve their ethnical and human dignity. The NJEGOSH Mausoleum is the symbol of human dignity worldwide. The art of translation. Every language generates its own mindset. The 100% correct translation is impossible.
My grandfather Stefan Radosław Popovich, father of my mother Rosanda, is in the bloodline with Marko Miljanov Popovich, the Kuchi tribe of Montenegro.
Montenegrins, the mighty race of the mountaineers, says Lord Tennyson, the defenders of Christian faith. NJEGOSH, the failed attempts in the CHURCH-INTO-MOSQUE conversion of Europe. NJEGOSH. Martel. Sobieski. NJEGOSH, the Prince Bishop of Montenegro, a Montenegrin Serb. Love Chin Mountain, with the NJEGOSH Mausoleum. Love Chin Mountain, with the NJEGOSH Mausoleum. The Montenegrin traditional cap with the cross of the Serbs. The cross of the Serbs. Solely. Solidarity. Saves. The Serbs. SSSS. Montenegrins, the mighty race of the mountaineers, says Lord Tennyson. Alfred, Lord Tennyson. Vladislav Alexander Stefan. Montenegrins, the mighty race of the mountaineers, says Lord Tennyson. The tribes and clans of Montenegro. Stefan University Press, La Jolla, California, 2008. Saint Stefan, the patron saint of the Serbs. The name Stefan is very often encountered in the culture and tradition of the Serbs. Saint Stefan, Vedi Stefan, is the patron saint of the Serbs. Almost all the rulers of Serbia and Montenegro have Stefan in their full name. Stefan means the crowned one. The present-day city of Herceg-Novi, Montenegro, was formerly Saint Stefan. And there is Saint Stefan Island, the pearl of the Montenegrin coast, the Montenegrins are so proud of. NJEGOSH gives to Abbot Stefan, the pillar role in the mountain wreath, the power from beyond, working for the Montenegrin Serbs. Saint Stefan. Vedi Stefan. The patron saint of the Serbs. Translations of the Mountain Wreath into English language by James W. Wiles, 1930, Vasa D. Mihailovich, 1986, and Vladislav Alexander Stefan, 2008. NJEGOSH on the Flooding of Europe, by Islam through the West and East Gate of Europe. In his mountain wreath, NJEGOSH depicts the fight of a tiny Montenegro against the Ottoman Empire within the context of failed attempts of Islamization of Europe by the Ottomans and the Moors. The Ottomans had chosen as their ultimate goal the conquest of Europe as a whole, in other words, to replace the cross with a crescent, to replace churches with mosques. It was the dream of a Turk by the name of Osman Ottoman in the early 14th century, in the present-day Turkey, the founder of the empire, named after him. The Ottoman dream had appeared to be too much of a dream. The Serbs have the proverb, a bull's head is way too much to eat for a tomcat. In Serbian, this sounds like this. Stefan's voice.
Mnogo je mačku goveđa glava.
Threat to Western civilization. Hannibal, Attila, the Moors, and the Ottomans, among others. When Hannibal was at the door of Rome, it seemed as it had been the end of the Roman Empire. He stopped there, still puzzling fact, even today, never trying to enter Rome. Attila, the Hun, put Europe on fire, but died. All of a sudden. Some say his wife betrayed, killed him. Out of fire, Europe emerged like the phoenix bird. The Moors had reached the door of the Franks, but Charles the Hammer did hammer them back. Mehmed, the Conqueror, crushed the back door of Constantinople, but the portal of Orthodox Christianity moved to Moscow, Russia. Suleiman, the Magnificent, was at the door of Vienna. He knocked on the door, nobody answered, so he went back for good. Europe saw it as his wise and magnificent move, and the great Ottoman became Suleiman the Magnificent in Europe. In his Ottoman Empire, he held less magnificent sobriquet, Suleiman the Lawgiver. Kara Mustafa, of Albanian descent, on the order of Sultan Mehmed IV, and inspired by Suleiman the Magnificent, wanted to do some sightseeing of Vienna from the inside. But it was in vain, just as it was for Suleiman. He went back, reaching Belgrade, Serbia. There, the Ottoman Janissaries welcomed him. Sort of. On the order of Sultan Mehmed IV, they strangled the great Ottoman general with the silken bowstring, according to the royal protocol. It would have been truly astonishing. Mehmed II, the conqueror of Constantinople, and Mehmed IV, through Kara Mustafa, the conqueror of Vienna. The second event was not to be. Here is what NJEGOSH says in the Mountain Wreath of Mehmed II and Mehmed IV. The Book of Destiny reads not the same for the two brothers of the same name. The Book of Destiny reads not the same for the two brothers of the same name. The religions of the one true God of Abraham, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, law, love, lenience. Law, love, lenience. The wise man from La Jolla, California, says Stefan, had told me once about the three pillar principles of the religions of Abraham, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. They are, he had said, law, order, of God, love, giving, forgiving, of God, and lenience, mercy, of God, respectively. Many disagree. They say that every single one of the three pillar principles is included in each of the three religions of Abraham, in the same measure. The West Gate of Europe, Charles Martel, becomes Charles the Hammer. Before the Ottomans, there had been the attempt of the Muslim Moors to conquer Europe, through the west gate of Europe, Spain. They failed miserably. The Moors were expelled from Spain in the late 15th century. Christian Europe, for the Moors, appeared to be a bull's head, indeed. As to the attempt of the Muslim Moors to conquer Europe, NJEGOSH, in his Mountain Wreath, says this: "Had it not been for the French wall, the Arab Sea would have flooded us all. Had it not been for the French wall, the Arab Sea would have flooded us all." It is 732 AD. The Moors are, in the Gaul lands, the lands of the Franks, the present-day France. The holy war between the Christian Franks and the Muslim Moors is taking place. The Moors want to expand their empire and to force Islam upon Europe. The Franks are not happy about it at all. The Moorish army leader is Abdul Rahman al-Ghafiqi, and the leader of the Franks is Charles Martel, soon after the Battle of Tours Poitiers, to be called Charles the Hammer, as he hammered back, so to speak, the advancing Moorish army. Charles the Great, the father of Europe, the grandson of Charles the Hammer. The escape of Europe, the Ottoman dream, the Battle of Kosovo, 1389. The conquest of the Byzantine Empire, 1453. The Siege of Vienna, 1529. The Siege of Vienna, 1683. In the early 14th century, the Ottomans were advancing into the European continent through the east gate of Europe, the Byzantine Empire. The defeat at the Gate of Vienna, September 11, 1683, revealed to them finally that the Ottoman dream would never come true. It revealed to the Ottomans that they had failed miserably. It was proved again that Europe was a bull's head for the Ottomans, indeed. The Battle of Kosovo, 1389, the Ottoman Empire against the Serb Empire. The Battle of Kosovo, the Serbs never give in. Never give up. On the Kosovo field, the Crescent had attacked the Cross. It was the battle between the Crescent and the Cross. It was the battle for the Christianity in the lands of the Serbs. The Serbs have succeeded. The Guselmen have been singing about it relentlessly, reminding the coming up generations that the Serbs never give in, never give up. In his Honor and Heroism, Marko Miljanov Popovic talks about Neda, a mother from the village of Maidon, who would merrily give her son's life just to avenge the Kosovo. The Battle of Kosovo Field, the Blackbird Field, June 28, St. Vitus Day, Gregorian calendar, June 15, Julian calendar, 1389. Kos is a blackbird, so Kosovo Field means a blackbird's field. The battle between the Serbs and the Ottomans took place on that location in the year 1389. It is fair to say that the outcome of the Battle of Kosovo is inconclusive. Both sides had given scarce information, and that information, which was given, was filled with inaccuracies and contradictions. The interpretations of the third party, the foreigners, who were contemporaries to the battle, were also of the same character. What is certain is that both sides lost their leaders, the Serbs, Prince Lazar, and the Ottomans, Sultan Murad I, and both sides suffered a devastating blow. The aftermath of the battle is clearer. The Serbs lost their complete army, becoming incapable of giving any significant resistance to the Ottomans. On the other hand, the Ottomans had a reserve army in Anatolia, and were capable of continuing the campaign in Serbia and elsewhere. Some Serb noblemen became the vassals, the fifth column, of the Ottomans, facilitating further penetration of the Ottomans into Serbia. The Serb people, however, were never vassals to anyone. They resisted, never giving in, and never giving up. As to the Battle of Kosovo, says Stefan, I have to share this with you. When I studied it in elementary school, I was devastated. I had dreams, lots of them, whereby I would have time traveled back to the battlefield with a heavy machine gun in my hands and would have killed them all, the Ottomans, of course. That's the patriotism of a young heart. Remember the Kosovo, remember the Alamo. For the Serbs, the Kosovo battle is the symbol of their honor and heroism. Kosovo is the place to be remembered. This is similar to Alamo as the symbol of the Americans, the place to be avenged and remembered, as Samuel Houston had claimed. So, remember the Kosovo, and remember the Alamo. The escape of Europe, the Byzantine Empire, and the Serb Empire of Tsar Stefan Dušan the Mighty. On May 11, 330 AD, Constantine the Great moves the capital of the Roman Empire from Rome to Constantinople, which becomes the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire, or the Byzantine Empire. The Byzantine Empire had been the most powerful military, cultural, and economic state of Europe since its foundation, until the conquest of Constantinople by the Ottomans in 1453. The conquest of the Byzantine Empire, 1453, by the Ottomans, Mehmed II, the Conqueror. Mehmed II, the Conqueror, 1453. Sultan Mehmed II, the Conqueror of Constantinople, was deeply concerned with the danger coming from the fifth column in his environment, his people doubting his wisdom and wit, and siding with his external and internal enemies who wanted the Ottoman throne. Wisely, he first eliminated the fifth column and freed himself so as to focus on the conquest, fulfilling the vow of the Fetih Surah. Mehmed II entered Constantinople, May 29, 1453. His army saluted him, Mashallah, Allah be praised. Long live Mehmed the Conqueror. Long live Mehmed the Conqueror. The dream of the conquest of Christian Constantinople, Eastern Roman Empire, had come true. It was to be Mehmed II that Prophet Muhammad was talking about in his narration, Fetih Surah. You will conquer Constantinople. Mehmed is the Turkish equivalent of the Arab Muhammad. Mehmed II, now Mehmed the Conqueror, entered Hagia Sophia, a Christian cathedral, on horseback. It was the ending of the great Byzantine Empire, and the beginning of yet another one, the great Ottoman Empire. At about the same time, the Holy Russian Empire emerged, under Ivan III, the first Russian emperor, Tsar, as the phoenix bird of the Byzantium. Moscow takes the role of Constantinople, which is renamed into Istanbul. The Byzantine double-headed eagle, the symbol of its power, was taken by Ivan III as the symbol of his own empire. The Byzantine Empire had died out for good. Apparently, nobody really cared. The center of the Orthodox Christianity moved to Moscow, Russia, whereby it has been growing ever stronger. Hence, the Russophile sentiment is widely spread in the Orthodox Christian lands. Tsar Ivan III takes Zoe Sophia, the niece of Constantine XI, Polylogos, the last Byzantine emperor, for his wife, and the bloodline of the Russian throne reached back to Constantine the Great, the first Christian Roman emperor. The Orthodox Christian faith was saved. The Ottomans had been puzzled. Was the conquest of Constantinople a real conquest? The answer would have been in the future, and the answer is no. The Orthodox Christian faith is still the major religious faith in Southeast Europe and Russia. The Orthodox Christian faith is a strong bond between Russia, Serbia, and Montenegro. The Siege of Vienna, 1529, by the Ottomans, Suleiman the Magnificent. Suleiman the Magnificent, the First Ottoman Siege of Vienna, 1529. Suleiman the Magnificent was impressed by Alexander the Great and used Alexander's thunderbolt tactic in his vast conquests. It was Suleiman the Magnificent who conquered Belgrade, Serbia, the major Christian stronghold at the time, in 1521, more than a century after the Kosovo battle. After Belgrade, Serbia, 1521, the next step for Suleiman the Magnificent was Vienna, Austria, the Golden Apple, as referred to by the Ottomans. The siege of Vienna took place in 1529. In the north, in Germanic regions, the Protestants were promoting their cause, weakening the power of Rome. Suleiman did not hide his pleasure with the Protestant movement. He wisely supported the Protestant movement, applying the Machiavelli divide and rule principle. Suleiman had a hard time to establish reliable fifth column on his way to the city of Vienna and got stuck in his attempt to capture it. He found himself alone in a strange Christian land, with nobody to turn to. He withdrew for good without tarnishing his sobriquet the Magnificent. The Siege of Vienna, 1683, by the Ottomans, Mehmet IV. Kara Mustafa, Black Stefan, and King Jan III Sobieski of Poland. The Second Ottoman Siege of Vienna, 1683. Kara Mustafa, Black Stefan, Mustafa is Islamic equivalent of Stefan, was promoted by Sultan Mehmed IV into Grand Vizier, the equivalent of Prime Minister and the Army Chief of Staff. Kara Mustafa, of Albanian descent, starts the Siege of Vienna on September 11, 1683. King Jan III Sobieski of Poland attacks the Ottoman encampment in the thunderbolt tactic of Alexander the Great from Kahlenberg Mountain and destroys the Ottoman army, similar to Charles Martel in 732 AD, who attacked as a thunderbolt the Moorish encampment and destroyed it. Kara Mustafa, the man who would destroy Christian faith, died in Belgrade, Serbia, on Christmas Day, 1683. Kara Mustafa failed to force Islam upon Europe. At the order of Sultan Mehmed IV, Kara Mustafa was executed in Belgrade, on the Gregorian calendar, Christmas Day, December 25, 1683. As the Gregorian calendar, Europe was celebrating Christmas Day. The Julian calendar, Europe, Russia, Serbia, and Montenegro, among others, was joining the Gregorian Europe with joy and silence. The Orthodox Julian calendar, Christmas Day would be on January 7, 1684. Sultan Mehmed IV issued Qatul Firman for Kara Mustafa after his defeat at Vienna on September 11 to 12, 1683. Kara Mustafa was executed according to the Ottoman law for dignitaries, Qatul Firman. Kara Mustafa, the great Ottoman general, was strangled in honor by a silken bowstring pulled by several janissaries on several sides. He was given both the respect for his successes and the punishment for his failure at the door of Vienna. As Kara Mustafa had expired, the whole Ottoman Empire started slowly, similar to the Roman Empire, to expire until its last breath on July 24, 1923. On October 29, 1923, Mustafa Kemal Ataturk heralded the establishment of the Republic of Turkey. NJEGOSH, in his mountain wreath, salutes Charles of Lorraine, the commander-in-chief of the army of Emperor Leopold I, and John Sobieski, the King of Poland, for defeating Kara Mustafa at the door of Vienna, 1683. At the Battle of Vienna, September 11 to 12, 1683, Charles V, the Duke of Lorraine, was the commander of the army of Emperor Leopold I, Holy Roman Emperor. the King of Poland and the Duke of Savoy, John III Sobieski, was the commander of the Polish-Lithuanian army. NJEGOSH, on the defeat of the Ottomans, 1683, at the Gate of Vienna. NJEGOSH says, through Prince Bishop Danilo, late 17th century. Charles, the brave Duke of Leopold's, and Sobieski, the Duke of Savoy. They broke together the demon's horns. The taste of wine is not now what it used to be. The world is not that what you have thought it was. To make a gift of Europe to the Ottomans is the sin even to be dreaming about. A big pear does get stuck in the throat of the Ottoman stagecoach. The girth has broken. Before Vienna, the Ottomans started stumbling. The Ottoman stagecoach went down, crumbling. There is a hidden misery in the glory of the conqueror. What does it mean? It means that conqueror, in the process of his conquest, is he himself conquered. This applies to any walk of life, not only to military affairs. It is the nature of nature. The power of the weak is equal to the power of the strong. Do find, please, for yourself some of the countless examples in the history of the human race. The power of the weak is equal to the power of the strong. The thunderbolt tactic of Alexander the Great, used by both the invaders and the defenders. The thunderbolt tactic of Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great of Macedonia would defeat much stronger enemies thanks to his thunderbolt tactic, whereby not a large group, a thunderbolt, of highly trained soldiers, always led by Alexander himself, would attack the center, the leadership, of the enemy, and, in that way, cut off the head of a snake. Through the centuries, Alexander's thunderbolt tactic has become the military tool of both the invaders and the defenders. The thunderbolt tactic of Milošević, in the Battle of Kosovo, 1389. The Ottoman Empire attacks the Serb Empire. Before the Battle of Kosovo, 1389, the Serbs were advised by the Ottomans to accept their rule peacefully, because the chances of the Serb victory had been non-existent in the eyes of the Ottomans. The Serb leadership refused. It is not a far-fetched idea to think, it seems to me, that the Serbs had in mind Alexander's wisdom when they refused the offer by the Ottomans. As it turned out, a single-man thunderbolt tactic was carried out by Milošević, the celebrated Serb warrior. Milošević penetrated the Ottoman lines, up to the very tent of the Sultan, and killed him. The Ottoman sources confirm that Sultan Murad I was wounded in the battle, and died soon thereafter on the very spot. The thunderbolt tactic of Bayezid I, the Battle of Kosovo, 1389. Bayezid I, the son of Murad I, swiftly took the leadership. The Battle of Kosovo was devastating for both the Serbs and the Ottomans, but the Serbs acquired resilience to win the Serb-Ottoman War. It was Bayezid I, himself nicknamed Bayezid the Thunderbolt, who had started what would have become the failed Ottomanization of Serbia. Instead of a swift conquest and Ottomanization of Serbia, taking into account the overwhelming might of the Ottomans in reference to the Serbs, the bloody, or otherwise, conflict between the Serbs and the Ottomans had lasted about 500 years, considered the longest in the world history. The Serbs were often referred to as the guardians of the Gate of Europe. The thunderbolt tactic of Charles the Hammer and King Jan III Sobieski. At the Battle of Tours, 732 AD, Charles Martel, the grandfather of Charles the Great, the father of Europe, employs the thunderbolt tactic of Alexander the Great, and attacks the Moor encampment behind their lines, causing disarray in the Moor army. Abdul Rahman, the Murra leader, gets killed, and the intent for the church-into-mosque conversion of Europe, from the west gate of Europe, was cut short. During the siege of Vienna on September 11 to 12, 1683, King Jan III Sobieski of Poland attacks the Ottoman encampment as a thunderbolt from Kahlenberg Mountain, and destroys the Ottoman army, similar to Charles Martel, in 732 AD. The intent for the church-into-mosque conversion of Europe, from the east gate of Europe, was cut short. Both Charles Martel and King Jan III Sobieski are referred to as the saviors of Christianity in Europe. The Thunderbolt tactic, Mehmet the Conqueror, and Suleiman the Magnificent. Alexander the Great was the hero of Mehmet the Conqueror. Mehmet II studied carefully Alexander's campaigning, and adopted the Thunderbolt tactic as his major military tool. In his conquest of Constantinople, 1453, as a 21-year-old man, Mehmet employed the Thunderbolt tactic, many of them to confuse enemy. He did it, in a literal sense, too. He used large cannon, hitherto unseen, named the Sultan Cannon, weighing some 700 tons, and the cannonballs about 1.5 tons each. The cannonballs, the thunderbolts, were strong enough to crush the impenetrable walls of Constantinople. Suleiman the Magnificent was impressed by Alexander the Great, and used the thunderbolt tactic in his vast conquests. It was Suleiman the Magnificent who conquered Belgrade, Serbia, the major Christian stronghold at the time, in 1521, more than a century after the Kosovo battle. The Thunderbolt tactic, William the Conqueror, Nobunaga of Japan, Hannibal of Carthage. The Thunderbolt tactic of Alexander the Great was employed by William the Conqueror at the Battle of Hastings, 1066. His knights, in a thunderbolt formation, attacked King Harold of England, and finished him. England was conquered, and William became William the Conqueror. He was crowned the King of England on Christmas Day, 1066, in Westminster Abbey in London. In a 1570 Japan, Lord Nobunaga Oda, with his 3,000 soldiers, attacked the encampment of Lord Yoshimoto Imagawa, the army of 40,000 soldiers, and won. Having had in mind much stronger Imagawa's army, Nobunaga, an admirer of Christianity, was focused on the offense rather than the defense. This is the wisdom of Alexander the Great that had always brought him victory. Hannibal applies the thunderbolt tactic of Alexander the Great in the battle at Cannae, 216, before Christ, against the Romans. It was Hannibal's army, of some 45,000 troops, against some 85,000 Romans. Hannibal was positioned in the central part, relatively weak, of his army, serving as a bait to lure the Romans in, which they did. The strong wings of Hannibal's army, Alexander's wisdom of the crescent formation of an army, encircled the Romans in a blitzkrieg, and won. This led to the greatest Hannibal's victory ever, still studied in the military academies worldwide. The Thunderbolt tactic of Novopopov, of the Kuchi tribe of Montenegro. In his honor and heroism, Marko Miljanov Popović addresses the assassination of Pasha Sokolović by Novopopov. Pasha Sokolović is a Montenegrin Ottomanite, a descendant of the Christian family converted to Islam. In his Examples of Honor and Heroism, Marko Miljanov Popović depicts the events of honor and heroism in Montenegro of old. He had no intention whatsoever, as it is clearly seen from the writings, of making it a myth. Accordingly, his honor and heroism should never be turned into a myth, that, somehow, the Montenegrins are a unique race, morally ideal. Montenegrin tribes fought each other, and in the process did many horrible things to each other. What Marko Miljanov Popović tells us on honor and heroism is, however, found in ethnicities, nations, and races worldwide, and at any and all time. Yes, the Montenegrin tribes did fight each other. In his Honor and Heroism, Marko Meljanov Popovic talks about the tribes and clans of Montenegro, and about some examples of their moral codes without any intention of making it a myth. Accordingly, this should never be turned into a myth, that, somehow, the Montenegrins are a unique race, morally ideal. This type of attitude prevents you from growing and improving yourself. The tribes and clans of Montenegro fought each other, as NJEGOSH explains. A Montenegrin Serb by the name of Nikola Novakovic betrayed Karageorge Kara, Black, as named by the Ottomans, the father of Serbia, as referred to by NJEGOSH, and killed him with an axe in his sleep. Quite often, there were bloody fights among the tribes and clans thereupon, resulting in a decades-long blood vendetta. The blood vendetta, eradicated in Europe, is, alas, still alive in Montenegro, and in Sicily, Italy. Novo Popov, from the village of Medulj, Montenegro, applies the thunderbolt tactic in his military action, just as Miloš Obilić had done at the Battle of Kosovo, 1389. Miloš Obilić, alone, reaches the tent of Sultan Murad I, and assassinates him. Novo, also alone, reaches the tent of Pasha Sokolović, and kills him, the Fundina mountain region, Montenegro. Unlike Miloš, who gets killed on the spot, June 28, 1389, at the Kosovo Blackbird field, Novo manages to escape. Novo Popov is a son of Pop Murcheta Ilikov Dracalovic. Iliko is a son of Lale. Lale is a son of Dracale. The descendants of Pop Murcheta are the Popovics, such as Marko Miljanov Popovic, and my maternal grandfather, Stefan Radosavov Popovic. In the early 17th century, under the leadership of Lale Drikalov, the Catholic Kuchi tribe converted to Orthodox Christianity. Some say that Dracale, the Illyrian version of Alexander, was the descendant of George Khosroati, known as Skanderbeg, an Albanian Christian leader whose mother was a noblewoman of the Serb descent. The others say that Dracale was a descendant of Mother Angelina, a Serbian saint, of an Albanian father and a Serb mother. The interaction of the Montenegrin tribes and the Albanian tribes at the present-day border between Montenegro and Albania has given rise to a number of historical controversies not yet studied in depth. NJEGOSH, in his mountain wreath, salutes Skanderbeg, together with Miloš Obilić, as the great defenders of Christian faith. The fifth column. The traitors among us. The Mountain Wreath by NJEGOSH is considered one of the most important works in the Serb-Yugoslav literature. It depicts the epic war of a tiny Montenegro against the mighty Ottoman Empire. And it anathematizes the conversion of the Montenegrin Orthodox Serbs into Islam. NJEGOSH, the great Prince-Bishop of Montenegro, the land of the Black Mountains, was a great judge of his times. He saw the grave danger in the Ottomanization of the Orthodox Christian Montenegro. He put the anathema upon the fifth column, the domestic Ottomans, referred to as the Ottomanites, in his celebrated The Mountain Wreath. Although the Ottomans had had a little success in penetrating tiny Montenegro on their own, there was a great danger that they could have succeeded with the help of the Ottomanites. This is the historical event that had taken place in Montenegro at the end of the 17th century, the eradication of the Ottomanites, the Ottomanized Montenegrins. According to the NJEGOSH account, at least a few hundreds of the Ottomanites were eradicated, and a sizable number of the Orthodox Montenegrins. The Ottomanization had been stopped for good. This was the major blow to the Ottomanization, which, thereupon, never recuperated. Montenegro was cleaned up from the Ottomanites, who have remained the minority since. The greatness of a nation is reflected in its treatment of its minorities. The greatness of a nation is reflected in her treatment of the minorities. Wars, says Stefan, are won by the human intellect, emotion, intuition, and the strength of spirituality, not by the brutal force. When you take a look at a particular army, you see the visible power of it. There is yet another power, the invisible power, the spirit, harbored in the hearts of the soldiers. Sun Tzu tells us that clearly in his Art of War, whereby the weaker Wu state had won, the stronger Chu state. The insidious power for the aggressor, and the danger for the attack of the fifth column was recognized by Sun Tzu, as was later by Hannibal, Julius Caesar, Dracula the Impaler, the German Nazis, Viet Cong, and others. Without strong fifth column, the invaders can never win. With strong fifth column, the defenders can never win. It is widely accepted, in variety of military doctrines, that the fifth column, in the course of time, breaks or makes the success of the aggressor. The weakening of the fifth column means the weakening of aggression as a whole. Mehmed the Conqueror and Suleiman the Magnificent, successfully fighting the traitors, the fifth column. During their reigns, both the great leaders of the Ottoman Empire had serious internal enemies, intending to capture the throne. Byzantine influence in Mehmed's empire was very strong, and so was the influence of Western Europe, France, in particular, in the Suleiman Empire. Both men saw it as a grave danger and have been successfully eliminating it. No aggressor, says Stefan, can win the war without the help of a strong fifth column. To achieve victory, the attacked, invaded nation should first destroy the fifth column. I wish this to go down in history as my contribution to the military theory. I am just kidding. Or maybe not. The present-day homegrown and foreign terrorism is a form of the fifth column. It is not war, per se, but an engagement, which, if not timely treated, can be coordinated into war, the global war against terror. The unity of the Slavic ethnicities and the minorities in the lands of Yugoslavia. NJEGOSH, the Prince Bishop of Montenegro, says Stefan, and Marko Miljanov Popović, the Duke of Montenegro, had been the fighters for the unity of the Slavic ethnicities in the lands of Yugoslavia and for the unity of the Slavic people in general, contributing to the Pan-Slavism movement of the 19th century. You may laugh now, but who laughs last, laughs best. I am confident, says Stefan, that in the future, the Slavic ethnicities and the minorities in the lands of Yugoslavia will unite again into one nation, one passport. Yugoslav passport. As the model of unity, the model of the USA would be an excellent choice. And the name, the United States of Yugoslavia, would be an excellent choice as well. You may laugh now, but who laughs last, laughs best. You may laugh now, but who laughs last, laughs best. Idea never dies. Once having been born, an idea never dies. The brick and mortar entities are built and destroyed, but the ideas, as their bone marrow, stay intact and reappear in different robes in the flow of time. The ideas, either already experienced by humans or yet to be experienced by humans, never die. History of the human race is but the hopping of the same ideas through the variety of brick and mortar entities. If I were younger, says Stefan, I would dedicate all my life to the unity of the Slavic ethnicities and the minorities in the lands of Yugoslavia. The Church-into-MOSQUE conversion of Europe was not to be, says Stefan. As Kara Mustafa had expired, the whole Ottoman Empire started to slowly expire, until its last breath on July 24, 1923. The Church-into-MOSQUE conversion of Europe was not to be. Physics in NJEGOSH'S mountain reef, the physics of chaos, cosmology, and the nature-time. Physics in NJEGOSH'S mountain reef. Of course, in his times, 1813 to 1851, NJEGOSH was too busy with the immediate problems as the ruler of Montenegro to be foreseeing the development of physics and philosophy. Yet, I will address his wisdom to the problems of contemporary physics, and the philosophy of physics, the physics of chaos and cosmology. Deism of Newton and Ontheism of NJEGOSH. Ontheism of NJEGOSH, God created nature as a separate entity. God is not nature, as in pantheism, albeit, in the unfolding of nature, God can interfere with nature's order. Ontheism. Newton's and Thomas Jefferson's deism. God created nature and nature's laws, and left her, as such, to unfold of her own, never to come back. Sir Isaac Newton referred to nature as the feminine principle, and to God as the watchmaker. The unfolding of nature, the living matter, Darwin formulated in his celebrated books. Quite often, and falsely, Darwinism is cited, by the second and third-hand learned ones, as the proof against creationism. Darwin himself writes to Karl Marx, saying that his theory on evolution does not have anything to do with the existence, or non-existence, of the Supreme Being. Marx, in particular, never denied the existence of God. NJEGOSH on the nature of time. Time, NJEGOSH tells us, was taken out of chaos by God. Time had existed in chaos, meaning God had free time, and let it flow freely thereupon. In the flow of time, birth and death take place, making a human existence ephemeral, and existence, in general. Religions come to help, having a single purpose, which is the transcendence of time, meaning to make a human existence eternal. NJEGOSH implies that time was born, that time has the beginning, which is in accordance to the present-day Big Bang theory of our universe. Einstein had thought that time has no beginning. Aristotle's from everlasting to everlasting, until the Hubble experiments, the expansion of universe, proved him wrong. Einstein referred to this as the biggest blunder of his life, something like bowing low at the altar of stupidity. Documentary movie, released in 2009. Einstein's phrase, bowing low at the altar of stupidity, the blunders in the physics research. The Alexander Stefan Film Studios USA. Stefan University Terra Media, 2009. NJEGOSH about nature and nature's laws. Nature is the product of the hell disorder in her. The soul with the flesh is at war in her. The sea with the shore is at war in her. The cold with the hot is at war in her. The wind with the wind is at war in her. Animal with animal is at war in her. People with people are at war in her. A human with a human is at war in her. The day with the night is at war in her. The spirit with the sky is at war. This is dialectics, a warlike one, creation-destruction. Of Heraclitus, Hegel, Marx, Darwin, and Freud. It is also dialectics, a benign form of it, of Taoism, Zen Buddhism, and Shinto, wherein the day and night, and cold and hot, are not really at war, but the participants of the happy cosmic dance. This is the dialectics employed, as a method by secret societies. Kabbalah and the Sufi mysticisms are excellent examples of the dialectical method. The witch in the mountain wreath uses this method to stir up the Montenegrin tribes against each other. NJEGOSH'S walnut and Gale man's quark. NJEGOSH, in his The Mountain Wreath, says, "A hard-shelled walnut is a wondrous fruit. You do not break it, but you chop off your tooth." A hard-shelled walnut reminds me of the hadron particles, neutrons, and protons. It is difficult, impossible, to break a hard-shelled hadron and deconfine Gale-Mann's quarks. Gale-Mann. The Alexander Stefan. And Roger Revelle. Murray Gale-Mann. The Quark and the Jaguar. Adventures in the Simple and the Complex, 1994. Chaos and NJEGOSH'S Philosophy Physics of Nature. The eternal conflict order chaos is the focus of NJEGOSH'S philosophy. In other words, he had been interested how chaos evolves into order. In Egypt of old, Seth is the ruler of chaos in eternal fight with Horus, the ruler of order. In Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, it is Lucifer who brings chaos into the world. The conflict is symbolically depicted by an Ouroboros snake in many cultures. Order out of chaos is the teaching of Kabbalah and Sufi mysticism, whereby order is brought about by the Supreme Being. In other mystical teachings, such as is the Illuminati mysticism, order is brought about by man through revolutions. Order out of chaos is addressed in the frame of physics by Prigozhin, among others. Research Trends in Physics series of the Institute for Advanced Physics Studies, Stefan University. According to the thermodynamic principle of the enhancement of entropy, our universe is doomed to end up in chaos. Not so, tells us modern physics theory on local self-organization of matter. Chaos, order, and nature. Chaos, or order, what was in the beginning? What comes first, chaos, or order, in the Big Bang Theory? Aristotle would right away object the above questions, saying that our universe unfolds from everlasting to everlasting. There is no such a thing as the beginning, or the ending of time, so to speak. Often, a Nobel Prize-winning plasma physicist had similar opinion. Einstein had, too, until the Hubble experiments. The expansion of our universe proved him wrong. Einstein referred to this as the biggest blunder of his life. The Big Bang Genesis and Einstein's Biggest Blunder. A documentary movie released in 2008 by the Alexander Stefan Film Studios USA. Stefan University Terra Media. Einstein's phrase, bowing low at the altar of stupidity, the blunders in the physics research. A documentary movie released in 2009 by the Alexander Stefan Film Studios USA. Stefan University Terra Media. According to Einstein's general theory of relativity, all that there is located on the surface of the expanding balloon we refer to as our universe. The nature of the expansion is the hot topic in modern-day cosmology. In 1991, John Archibald Wheeler of Princeton University was the guest of Institute for Advanced Physics Studies, Stefan University, giving the lecture in La Valencia Hotel, La Jolla, California, on the Big Bang Theory. He argued about the chaotic state before the expansion, placing chaos as the primordial state of our universe, as NJEGOSH had done in his times. Beauty and light. NJEGOSH considers beauty to be the essence of nature. God is the creator-artist. Beauty, as the principle in the physics research, is introduced by Einstein, and further emphasized by Dirac and Gale-Mann. If it is beautiful, a mathematical equation, then, most likely it is true. Truth and beauty are but one. For NJEGOSH, light was the beauty of nature, as had been for Goethe, and for Christian, Jewish, Kabbalah, and Islamic, Sufi, mystics, and, in general, for the mystical thought, Taoism, Zen Buddhism, Shinto, and Hinduism, among others. Space and time. For NJEGOSH, the purple light, in particular, was the embodiment of God's perfectness. His adoration of the sun, NJEGOSH expresses in his ode to the Sunday. Nature has the purpose that is accomplished continually in the flow of time by means of reason. The flow of time attests nature's purpose and nature's consciousness. And, in the flow of time, the laws of nature are created. NJEGOSH has a remarkable intuition. He sees space as expanding and into its deep interconnectedness between space, time, and motion, which is in accordance to the Einstein relativity paradigm. Cause-effect. For NJEGOSH, the Supreme Being is self-caused, the One. Cause-effect. There is no the cause-effect sequence as to the nature of the Supreme Being, and nature is created by the Supreme Being. The cause-effect sequence takes place in the nature of nature. Quub. The Giver, the Supreme Being. From STEFAN'S. False Trilogy. Obviously, NJEGOSH had a great intuition about nature and nature's laws. NJEGOSH on America. NJEGOSH on America. NJEGOSH sighs with relief, thinking of America, the USA. In his later years, the great Montenegrin Serb feels the pressure of his life as being the Prince of Montenegro, secular ruler, protecting his people from the internal and external enemies, the Bishop of Montenegro, the ecclesiastical leader, giving the hope to his people, and the poet in his heart. If you have added to that his weak health, tuberculosis, you will have realized that this young man, then in his late 30s, had been having a tough life. At some moments, NJEGOSH sees America, the USA, as the escapade, as the promised land. NJEGOSH says, many a time, I have thought it best to close my eyes and leave Europe for good, and to move to America, the USA, and to read not a word about Europe ever again. Be not surprised if you hear of my being aboard the ship, crossing the Atlantic Ocean, and headed to New York. Of course, this is the thought of the moment, the side thought, so to speak. NJEGOSH would have never left his beloved Montenegro. It is a shame that NJEGOSH was not fortunate enough to visit America. He died a young man. Had he lived longer, I could bet my bottom dollar he would have visited America, and in particular, New York City, as I did for the first time on December 18, 1981. NJEGOSH, a pan-Slavist, would have made of America as he did of Russia, an ally to Montenegrin Serbs and other Slavic ethnicities in the lands of Yugoslavia. I was fortunate enough, coming from Belgrade, Serbia, Yugoslavia, to make America my new homeland and to become a naturalized, meaning not born in the USA, American citizen, on August 23, 1991. Every American asks, "Hey America, what do I mean to you?" We love America, and we want her to love us back. STEFAN'S books for general public.
Gustave Flaubert, at the age of 24, says, It would be an excellent idea for some brave soul to publish nothing until the age of 50, and then to abruptly reveal his works to the public one beautiful day. I have found out recently about Flaubert's wisdom, yet apparently I have followed his wisdom word by word. I agree with Flaubert, the idea is excellent, but has the other side, though. The abrupt presentation of your voluminous work to the public is equivalent to your self-induced Big Bang. You force the public to drink water from a hose. I started publishing my work for general public when I was about 50 years old. My physics philosophy work I started publishing at the age of 21. Now, 2018, I have published the Falstaff trilogy, Source or Sar, The Secret Pure Wisdom, On Things Qual the Giver, the Supreme Being Whispers to a Human Being, The Open World Manifesto, New Order Scientific Technological, Qual Cooperates, my work about Albert Einstein, my work on popular physics and similar. I'm still working on similar projects. All my work for the general public I started in my teen years. I was impressed then, and I am still impressed, by the stories on Faust, or Faustus, by Christopher Marlowe, Goethe and Thomas Mann, Don Juan or Don Giovanni, and Voltaire's Candide. I would write down my ideas, thoughts and opinions as they popped into my mind. Sometimes I would write them down on the napkins if I happened to be in a restaurant or a coffee shop. Solomon the Wise says that there is the right time for everything. I do believe that the true right time is yet to come for my general work. The Falstaff trilogy, Source or Sar, The Secret Pure Wisdom, On Things Qual the Giver, the Supreme Being, Whispers to a Human Being, The Open World Manifesto, New Order Scientific Technological, Qual Cooperates. I might not be with you, still, you wait and see.
The Falstaff trilogy, the magnum opus of the Alexander Stefan. The Falstaff trilogy, the magnum opus of the Alexander Stefan. Often I am asked, says Stefan, whether the Falstaff trilogy is about me. I reply, no. On the other hand, though the novel is not about me, it is me. I created the novel. The Falstaff trilogy is my work in fiction and fantasy. Dr. Falstaff, the Master Guardian of the Creation. By the Alexander Stefan. The Alexander Stefan Film Studios USA. Stefan University Terra Media.
The story about Dr. Victor Falstaff was published in 4 books. That was in the period from 2002 to 2007. It culminated in the publishing of the Falstaff trilogy in 2011.
Come join me, human race, come walk with me. Come on, human race, come walk with me. Immortality come with me. Come on, human race, come walk with me.
I am that I am. I am all that there has ever been. I am all that there will ever be. I am the everlasting.
The Faux-Steph Trilogy by the Alexander Stefan, 2011. Book 1. Ephemeron, The Particle of Time, Madonna. Mother of Universe. An Immortal Woman, Code 13, and Young Faux-Steph, 2002. Book 2. Dr. Falstaff vs. Lucifer. In the Fight for Immortality of the Human Race, 2005. Book 3. Death of Lucifer, The Grace of the Atlantis Race, 2007. How I Created Dr. Faux-Steph. How I Created Dr. Faux-Steph vs. Lucifer in the Fight for Immortality of the Human Race. A documentary movie released in 2008 by the Alexander Stefan Film Studios USA, Stefan University, Terra Media. This documentary depicts the creation of the novel by the Alexander Stefan entitled Falstaff Trilogy. The novel deals with the Marie-Louise Bromfield immortality experiment, which Falstaff performed on his 2 graduate students and himself on February 11, 2001. The experiment was based on ephemerons, the particles of time, in interaction with the gate of immortality, located in our brains. In that experiment, their mortal existence, Code 5, has been transmuted into immortal, Code 7. On the same day, February 11, 2001, Qual the Giver, the Supreme Being, transmutes Dr. Falstaff into the immortal human being of the Code 13, the highest code on the ladder of the human existence. In addition, Qual the Giver appoints Dr. Falstaff the Master Guardian of the creation. The world physical versus the world beyond. The reality that we are immersed in. The reality of the world physical, investigated by the physicists, is much richer in phenomena than any world beyond in the mind of the pseudo-mystics. The world physical is richer than any fiction, fantasy, or mystery that human brain can ever construct. It is in the nature of the human mind that it can penetrate and expand into reality not based on 5 senses. That's our inner freedom. But, as it is the case with any freedom, if not treated properly, it becomes the force of captivity. You may find yourself a captive in the pseudo-world. Sticking to the reality of the world physical, it seems to me, is much better program for life than relying on mystery and mysticism. There are feeble minds that adore mystery and emptiness enveloped in a silky veil of pseudoscience. I'm not talking here about the people of genuine religious capacity and mystical depths, the people of the cosmic consciousness. They are a special kind of humans with genuine psychonoetic capabilities, which seem to transcend the barriers of time. The true mystics know that what they are gifted with is not for everyone, and, consequently, they rarely propound their wisdom on a large scale in usual modes. The Marie-Louise Bromfield immortality experiment. I wrote the Falstaff Trilogy story in the period 2001 to 2007 in La Jolla, California, Mexico City, Mexico, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, Milano, Italy, and St. Moritz, Switzerland. Falstaff is in the search for immortality of the human race using the laws of physics. He has a mighty adversary, Lucifer himself, who tries to sabotage Falstaff's efforts. Dr. Falstaff is the winner. Dr. Falstaff, an American, along with his 2 graduate students, Magamba, Mbali from Africa, and Li Xianchu from Asia, becomes immortal through his Marie-Louise Bromfield immortality experiment, performed on February 11, 2001, in Al-Amrad Laboratory, situated at the secret location of the Armageddon area, in the Middle East. Falstaff's Love Affairs. The novel Falstaff trilogy deals with the peculiarities of romantic relationships between an immortal human being code 13, Dr. Falstaff, and his sweethearts, mortal and immortal. It includes the relationship with the mortal woman code 5 from the 21st century New York, by the name of Evla, as Falstaff named Evangela Morichen. The mortal woman code 5 from the 13th century Paris, by the name of Giselle. The immortal woman code 9 from the 16th century Venice, by the name of Veronica Franco. The mortal woman code 5 from the 3rd century before Christ, China, by the name of Princess Senching, Morning Star. The immortal woman code 7 from the future by the name of Esno Bay. And the immortal woman code 13 by the name of Madonna. Falstaff and Lucifer, Falstaff and Quab-the-Giver, the Supreme Being. The Falstaff-Lucifer encounters, and the encounters of Falstaff with Quab-the-Giver, the Supreme Being, are presented. Quab-the-Giver is the One, or the Supreme Being, the everlasting human being. Falstaff is self-transmuted from the mortal existence code 5, the existence of the Homo sapiens sapiens race, our race, into the immortal existence code 7. Lucifer dies a unidirectional death. Starting with February 11, 2001, at the dusk of the day, and thereupon Lucifer's access to the Atlantis universe, our universe, is forbidden by Quab-the-Giver himself. By the grace of Quab-the-Giver, Falstaff is transmuted into the immortal existence code 13, and given the post of the Master Guardian of the Atlantis universe, and the 21 sibling universes, which is the former post of Lucifer. The human existence codes in the Falstaff trilogy. The human existence codes define the human lifespan, the human capability for time travel, and the human capability for self-transformation. The ghost, vampire, and werewolf mode of human existence are the aberrational modes induced by a variety of factors. The human snake transmigration is operated directly by Quab-the-Giver, the Supreme Being. This is the case when human beings appear in the flesh and blood form of the snake, usually in the capacity of the messenger, the events frequently found in the mythologies worldwide, talking snakes. The gate of immortality, in the frontal cortex of the human brain. The novel Falstaff trilogy addresses the human existence codes. The human mortality codes from the code 1 through the code 5, and the human immortality code 6 through the code 13. The unidirectional death of an immortal human being. The Quab code of our universe. The arrival of an exiled Ephemer, Lucifer, an immortal human being code 11 on the earth some 50,000 years ago. The arrival of Hermes Trismegistus, the twin snake man, on the earth some 6,000 years ago, at the dawn of the celestial age of Taurus. Hermes Trismegistus, 3 times great, an immortal human being code 11, transmuted the selected members of the existing human races on all continents into our species, Homo sapiens sapiens with 2 brain hemispheres, corresponding to hope and fear. Hermes also embedded the gate of immortality in the frontal cortex of our brains.
I walk alone, I sing
sing a song, I walk on.
The Nature of Time in Dr. Falstaff, the Falstaff Trilogy. The Falstaff Trilogy. My Falstaff Trilogy novel, says Stefan, Ephemeron, The Particle of Time, 2002, Dr. Falstaff, 2005, Death of Lucifer, The Grace of the Atlantis Race, 2007, is, on the deepest level, the story about the nature of time. The Ephemeron beams. In the Falstaff Trilogy, time is conceived as a corpuscular fluid made of the time particles, ephemerons. This means that you can touch time, so to speak. That time as a particle was conveyed to Falstaff by Madonna, an immortal woman, Code 13, while Falstaff was a graduate student of physics. In the 1970s subsequently, Falstaff worked on this idea and used the ephemeron beams successfully in achieving the immortality Code 7 for his two graduate students and himself in 2001. The particles of time, I named ephemerons as a reminder on the ephemerality that time brings to our existence. We all walk upon our lifetime strings located on the spherical time matrix. The backward-forward causation. The backward causation means that you can influence your past with your present actions. That's right, the past that you remember is just one of many variations of your true past. There is nothing to be worried about. The past that you remember is a good guide for your present and future actions. Through the forward causation, you influence your future with your present actions. This is known as the karma principle. Time travel, time drilling, and time hopping. Time travel is carried out into essentially different modes, the time drilling and time hopping modes. In the time drilling process, you walk on the spherical time matrix. If you walk from the point A in time to the point B, you drill, though all the points of time in between. In the time hopping process, you first jump up into the Quab code, the timeless world of Quab the Giver, the Supreme Being, and thereupon you jump down on the spherical time matrix, our world, the time world, on a desired time domain. This means that you can time hop, as you talk with your friend. You can time hop into the time domain, when he was a kid. You can spend there several years, watching him grow, and having fun with his dog named Boo, until that horrible day when Boo gets run over by a car. Then you come back to this time domain, and continue conversation with your friend. All these have happened in an instant. Your friend will never know that you were on a time-hopping trip into his childhood, unless you tell him. He may say, "Oh, come on." Then, you tell him about his dog named Boo, about the car accident, and about the time drilling process involves your disappearing and reappearing. The time-hopping process does not. The lifetime strings. At any moment you have a number of lifetime strings both in front of you, which is your future, and behind you, which is your past. This means if you decide to take a time-drilling trip into the past, you must be a clever time navigator so as to choose the time string that you have walked upon, which is the past you remember. Otherwise, you may get lost on the time strings, completely unknown to you. That's right, going backward in time is similar to going forward in time. You have many options in both cases. Dr. Victor Falstaff and She Time. Dr. Falstaff and She Time. The Falstaff Trilogy by the Alexander Stefan. Aquarius, the Celestial Age of She Time. The Celestial Age of Aquarius. The Celestial Age of Pisces. The Celestial Age of Aries. The celestial age of Taurus. The Big Bang, and the advancement of the human race on the planet Earth, known as Homo sapiens sapiens. The celestial age of Capricorn. Capricorn, the age of the exodus from the planet Earth to the Orion constellation. Aquarius, the celestial age of she-time. Aquarius, the age of the immortals on the planet Earth. Dr. Faust STEFAN'S she-time. The Falstaff Trilogy. Albert Einstein and Niels Bohr. On the Nature of Time.
Heisenberg's quantum mechanics tells us, says Bohr, that nature does not allow us to have complete information about time in the micro world. Wrong. Says Einstein. Heisenberg tells us about the weakness of the probabilistic quantum mechanics in describing the nature of time in the micro world. The probabilistic quantum mechanics is incomplete and must be replaced by a new, more encompassing theory. Einstein says Bohr, you keep forgetting that Gödel had proved that time is non-existent. Wrong. Says Einstein. What Gödel had proved was that one aspect of time, the arrow of time, is non-existent. Time itself is existent, and is of the corpuscular nature, as Falstaff states.
Marilyn Monroe has appeared. The group stops walking. In her baby breathy voice, filled with a deep emotional intelligence, she says, "Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Norma Jean. I am coming from May 29, 1962, from Madison Square Garden, where I have just saluted President Kennedy with the happy birthday, Mr. President. I did not like the way Peter Lawford announced me. He was joking about my always being late. Then he announced me, Mr. President, the late Marilyn Monroe."
Mr. President, the late Marilyn Monroe.
Unfortunately, in a short 2 months I would indeed become the late Marilyn Monroe. I died accidentally.
J.F. Kennedy shows up. Marilyn was sensational. After having had the happy birthday sung by her, I could easily retire from politics. It was a beautiful gift from her for my birthday. Her gift is truly a Zen Buddhist timeless moment that lasts forever.
The group has started walking now. President Kennedy joins them. Marilyn, with a deep cleavage, more than easy on the eye, walks along, wiggling her behind. "I wrote a poem, O time," Marilyn says. I have asked she time to be kind to me, to ease my restless mind, and to loosen my cosmic loneliness, as she is devouring my flesh and blood. She time, the love goddess, comes and goes, leaving the scars in our hearts. She belongs to no one, as I never belonged to anyone, though I was kind to everyone. All we can do is to ask she time, to be kind to us in our lives unkind. After my death, I was ascended into an immortal woman, code 9. By the grace of Hermes Trismegistus, Einstein, who is one of the mortal incarnations of Hermes Trismegistus, was my hero. It seemed to me that he had conquered she time. Now, Dr. Falstaff, you are my hero. With Falstaffian immortality, human tears will be wiped out dry. The sorrow in the human minds, the pain in the human hearts, and the loneliness in the human guts will be gone forever.
Wicked worm. Just to make humans live longer is not my objective. I'm not interested in long-lived humans. That can be accomplished by genomic physics. My physics of immortality is on a higher level. It involves the control of time.
You have enemies. Millions and millions of them. In every corner of the world. They will destroy you before you have succeeded in your research. For that, I actually like you. In essence, you are like me, swamped by enemies. To have smart enemies is the blessing for the intellectual giants, like you and me. The more enemies you have, the more freedom you have to manipulate them. It is easier to manipulate masses than one person. Your enemies, not your friends, will make of you a true legend. The echo of their hate will be heard throughout the centuries. Do you know, stupid worm? The might of your mind is almost on my level when resized to the mortality scale. That is the reason that I, in my own way, actually do like you. You are passing through all these whirlwinds of Scylla and Charybdis, and yet you are a strong and a humble man. Humble, I do not like. Lose it, and I will love you even more. Otherwise, you will meet my demons of ugliness and destruction.
The Song of Dr. Falstaff. The Anthem of Immortality. 1989, lyrics and music by V. Alexander Stefan.
Immortality has come with me. of time I've broken, the human race is free. Come on, human race, come, walk with me.
I am that I am. I am all that there has ever been. I am all that there is. I am all that there will ever be. I am the everlasting.
The Alexander Stefan. Sar, secret pure wisdom on things qua the giver, the supreme being, whispers to a human being, 2011. In my Sar, I present the set of essays in philosophy of physics, metaphysics, physics, mysticism, and occultism, hidden knowledge. Sar is the transposition of the esoteric words Rus, secret, Ros, pure, Rus, wisdom, according to the rules of the Kabbalah Gematria. I have been interested, says Stefan, in the philosophical aspects of science and technology since my early age, and in esotericism, as well. In particular, I was interested in the Nostradamus esotericism, as a mode of time travel. Nostradamus, a French magus. In those days I thought Nostradamus the time traveler. Marlowe's Dr. Faustus and Goethe's Faust had an immense influence on me in my youth years. Some of the topics discussed here were included in my two earlier works, the Falstaff Trilogy, 2007, 2011, and the Open World Manifesto, New Order Scientific Technological, Club Cooperates, 2009. If you are a perfectionist, as I am, for better or worse, you know that it carries a number of strange ups and downs. To be a perfectionist, it does sound perfect, but it is a drag in my life. The level I had hoped I would have reached in this area of study, I have never reached. This book represents my wish to share with you my thoughts on esotericism, within the mindset of a physicist, focusing on time, and space, and mass, and energy. From Sar, the encounter of Qua the giver, the supreme human being, and a human being, Dr. Falstaff. Qua the giver, the supreme being, whispers to Dr. Falstaff.
I am that I am. I am all that there has ever been. I am all that there is. I am all that there will ever be. I am the everlasting.
Qua the giver, the supreme being, whispers to Dr. Falstaff.
Know thyself.
Dr. Falstaff whispers back.
I do know myself. I'm time.
The Alexander Stefan. The Open World Manifesto. New Order Scientific Technological, Qua the giver, the supreme being cooperates, 2009. By this manifesto, says Stefan, entitled, The Open World Manifesto. New Order Scientific Technological, Qua cooperates, I salute, symbolically, the upcoming celestial age of Aquarius, which starts about 2,000 years after Christ, and ends about 4,000 years after Christ. The manifesto expresses my general ideas, opinions, and hypotheses as to the future of the human race. About the errors and blunders of a theoretical physicist, Einstein had once said that they come when his arguments are erroneous and sloppy, or when the devil Lucifer leads him by the nose with false hypotheses. He summarized that in the phrase, bowing low at the altar of stupidity. The future will show if my intuition has been fruitful. I would not be afraid of bowing low at the altar of stupidity during both my living and non-living years. The concept of the consciousness of time is frequently encountered in the manifesto. The whole human existence reality is viewed through the lens of the consciousness of time. Albert Einstein has a pedestal role in the manifesto as the first physicist to successfully treat the nature of time via the mathematical method. In my imagination, she-time helps me in clarification of the things when my intellectual capacity is inadequate in doing so. She-time is a fierce lady. She-time is righteous. She-time does not forget. She-time does not forgive. I do love to dance with her, but always being cautious of not stepping on her foot. A Message to the Human Race by the Alexander Stefan. Mortals, dream your life and living. Music, Ludwig van Beethoven. Lyrics, the Alexander Stefan.
Mortals be the eternal being up to the moment of your flag line. Mortals dream your life and living, never lose your dream divine.
Never lose your dream divine.